Welcome to Lawyer Business Advantage.
Welcome to Lawyer Boss Life, the podcast where law firm owners learn to build profitable businesses and lead lives they love. I'm Ale, law firm growth expert and founder of Law Firm Success Group. I've helped hundreds of attorneys scale their firms, gain freedom, and take back their time.
And I'm Chelsea Pagan. I'm a law firm owner, entrepreneur, and toddler mom. I know it's possible to have excellent income, work 40 hours a week or less, and take time off because that's what I do. Okay, today we are talking about a really interesting topic because I know nothing about it. So I feel like I'm going to learn a lot. But we're talking about one of the fastest ways small law firms can reduce their kind of overwhelming caseload and increase capacity is actually outsourcing, and not just outsourcing when it comes to, CPAs and bookkeeping, and marketing, admin support, but also outsourcing legal support to fill in the gaps instead of a full-time employee. So can you start off by kind of just making the distinction, the difference between outsourcing and hiring, and when each one makes sense for a couple different areas that your firm might need?
Sure. So hiring is when you are looking to fill a role and you hire someone to bring them into your firm, whether it's full-time or part-time. Outsourcing is when you take a function like your marketing function or your IT function or your HR function, and you then hire someone external to your firm as a vendor to do that function for you. So the distinction can be kind of fine, especially if you're talking about a part-time person that you've hired as a contractor, just mind your employment laws, to do something versus outsourcing that function to someone who's a vendor, right? It's a very fine line, and I don't know that it really matters. But the idea is you're taking a function in your firm and you are having that done by people who are not employees of your firm. And it could be done on a part-time basis or it could be done on a full-time basis.
Yeah, and in our firm, we definitely have some things that we don't deal with when it comes to like our marketing and who manages our website, IT, and things like that. But we don't have anybody that handles our HR that's, outsourced, it's only internal, or handles any of our other operations. We do all of our billing in-house, things like that. So it's so interesting to say, well, how many other types of vendors can you bring in that are companies that actually provide this service to help, make your firm more efficient, but also if it's not a full-time role. So it's really interesting. And so for me, I'm curious, especially in the areas in which we don't really pull anyone in, how can these different types of outsourcing help remove any bottlenecks that slow teams down, especially smaller law firms?
Yeah, one of the challenges smaller law firms have is they're a fully operating firm. So they need marketing, they need IT. If they have some staff, they need HR. They need all of these things. They need payroll, and so on and so forth. But they can't afford to hire those roles full time. And even if they could, guess who ends up managing all these people? It's the attorney.
Mhm.
And so it's a real challenge, right? How do you actually present yourself as a legitimate full business without having all of these functions? And if you hired all of these functions, A, you would have no time to be a lawyer, and
Mhm.
B, it would be so expensive that you wouldn't be able to really have a viable firm. So the nice thing is nowadays we have all of these fractional or outsourced roles where you can have all of these functions in your firm, but you don't have to have them full time. You can pay someone on a hourly or monthly basis to do these roles for you, to essentially be kind of a pseudo part of your firm. And because they charge you less, it's not going to be such a financial headache. And usually these people are experts at what they do. I was just joking with I think she was a marketing consultant, might have been a fractional CFO. I'm not sure, but we were talking about how it's so hard to find permanent people for these positions because all the best people have actually decided that they're not going to work full time for a law firm. They're going
Mhm.
to step away and be a consultant and do this on a fractional basis, which is better for them and better for their clients. So we were just kind of joking about that. You can find some really, really great people I think maybe some of the best who are not doing this for one specific firm full time anymore, they're now marketing their services as an outsourced provider. And it can be a really good combination for a law firm.
Yeah, especially small firms where you just the capacity, how many employees you have, you just might not have that much work for that person on a day-to-day basis. But as let's take, I'm assuming HR, like an HR, fractional HR person, which is high up on my list. And you and I have talked about this
We've
because
talked
that's
about that.
kind of that's the next step in evaluating our needs as a firm. But they come as you hire people, as people have benefit questions, and it's kind of a as you go. So I really think this is such an interesting concept that a lot of small law firms don't take advantage of or even consider. So, what exercises do you encourage, law firm owners to evaluate, or to help them evaluate which tasks drain their time versus which might require in-house talent, someone to be there more time? What's some exercises they can consider or just tasks they can review to figure out what's best for them?
Well, I think you probably know where I'm going with this, Chelsea. Where we start is we start with the attorney's time.
Yeah.
Um, and where is your time going as an attorney? And it should be focused, primarily on working with clients, marketing and business development, and then law firm admin. And the kind of the ratio that I talk about with my clients as a starting point is the 20-10-5 rule. So 20 hours of client work per week, 10 hours of marketing and business development per week, and 5 hours of law firm admin per week. And when I start working with a client, sometimes that law firm admin piece, instead of it being 5 hours a week, it's more like 25 hours a week.
Mm,
And it's crushing their entire situation. They don't have time to do client work. They don't have time for marketing and business development. They're overworked. They're tired. They're not having any fun. And it's because they're spending too much time the administrative tasks of running their firm. And then the next thing we do, if that number is high, is we start to figure out, okay, which of those tasks are you spending a lot of your time troubleshooting IT issues? It sounds silly, but you'd be surprised how often the attorney is actually trying to figure out why their Wi-Fi is down, or help someone get
mm,
their laptop running, or if the laptop is broken, running it over to the Apple Store or the Best Buy or
yeah.
whatever it is to get it fixed. I mean, these things can take up a lot of time. Likewise, on the payroll side, if you've got some employees, it kind of sucks to have to run payroll, around holidays or
Mhm.
when you have time off. It's this thing that just never goes away. It always is there, and you always have to do it. And so these tasks can chew up a lot of time. So once you've identified the tasks, then you can start thinking about, okay, is this something I should hire someone for, whether it's part-time or full-time? Or is this something that I should outsource? And the answer to that is going to be kind of a complex discussion because it depends on budget, it depends on resources available, it depends on what you want to do. Like there's a lot that goes into that. But pretty much any function that you have can be outsourced, including legal work these days.
So here's my problem, and maybe you can tell me how I need to address this better. But when I think, okay, we need a different IT person, or I want to look into HR, the time alone looking into that person, looking into whether they're a good fit, and then trying to onboard them with the way that we operate, that also takes us so much time. And I think that's what allows or scares me into being like, I can't deal with that right now. It's going to make my life easier, but that's, a Q1, Q2 problem, because just the onboarding of a new person involved in your firm can feel really draining. So, are there any practical ways to onboard these kind of outsourced roles into a firm so that it doesn't feel overwhelming for the law firm owner?
Short answer is not really. It's gonna suck. It's just kind of how it is.
I knew it.
Um, yeah, but you like you said, there is a payoff to doing that, and there's some
Mm,
things you can do to cut the odds in your favor. So one thing you can do is pick the right vendors from the start, because if you have to switch midstream, like you go through
yeah.
3 months, 6 months of pain, and then you've got to bring on a new vendor because the other person wasn't doing their job, like that's just awful.
Yeah.
So you want to avoid that and pick the right people up front. So lots of ways you can do that. Ask for referrals, look at online reviews, vet them really carefully. It's kind of like hiring an employee.
Hmm.
Um, one of the nice things that I would suggest is have them give you 3 references. And if it's a really key function, have them give you 5. If they can't produce those, um, that's a concern. They should easily be able to do that, and you should be able to talk with each of those references and kind of get a sense for, how this company or how this person operates. That's going to give you some reassurance that, yeah, these are the folks I want to move forward with, or no, these are not really the right fit for me. So that references is really big for me to make sure that we're working with the right vendors and that my clients are too. And then, uh, it is an interview. So give them hypotheticals, talk to them about how you currently run your business and how they would handle, being a part of your firm. The more you can have those conversations up front without committing to the vendor, the better off your outcome is going to be.
Yeah, you touched on something which was kind of give them hypotheticals. I'll use an example is we have a lot more employees now, which means more computers. We have 2 offices, which means Wi-Fi issues, connectivity issues. And so we knew we needed a more involved IT person. So we did that this year. And we went through the list of like, here's the things that I want or I think our IT person should be responsible for. And you kind of mentioned one, which was like going to Apple. Like we used to do those, take our computers to Apple. And, after our original IT guy said, hey, this is the problem, you got to take it to Apple. And we're like, okay, we got to take it. And so we confirm, like, hey, do you do all this? And they're like, absolutely. You just leave them there. We pick them up, we take them in. Setting up new computers is we used to also do that ourselves, which seems crazy now. They do
What
all
a
of
lot
that.
of people do, Chelsea.
I know we did for 6 years, a lot of this. And really it's been the last 2 years where we've taken ownership of the things that make sense to pay more. And this IT person was 3 times what we were paying. Totally worth every penny because all the pain points we were having, we shared and they confirmed, one, this is what's included in this. And then we do all this extra stuff you're asking for, but it might be an extra charge. Here's our pay schedule. And we're like, great. As long as we know we have the option and have predictability of what's included and what's not. And they laid it all out. We did the same thing with our banker. We have such amazing bankers at Flagstar. I could post about them all day. It's like white glove service over at our bank, which we really wanted. Because we had been with Chase before and had problems. We had moved from Wells Fargo, then we were with First Republic, and then Chase bought First Republic, so we had to go back to Chase. And we just have had such terrible experiences on the phone with customer service. That is not where your law firm owner time should be going. And now we've got a couple players involved in our team, and we literally try to remind them how thankful we are because our lives are easier and we're focusing on the things that law firm owners should be focusing on, building a good team, doing your actual legal work, and taking care of your clients. And so I've really seen this increase our profitability and allow me to manage my schedule more effectively, trying my best to incorporate your 20-10-5 rule, which I know is not always a success, but I'm always thinking about it, Alay, I promise. And so do you have any other examples about how some of these outsourcing opportunities can help other law firm owners increase profitability and protect their schedule?
Absolutely. So you've covered, I think we've discussed things like IT and HR, things that are not core to, an attorney practicing law. And all of those things can be outsourced from operations to marketing to HR and on and on and on. Let's talk a little bit about some legal functions now and how those things can be outsourced.
Mhm.
So we'll start with paralegals and legal secretaries. There are now organizations that are out there where they are freelance platforms, if you will, focused on paralegals and legal secretaries. There are outsourced paralegal organizations based in the U.S. There's also outsourced paralegal association or organizations, kind of the virtual assistant route that are based overseas. So you can really kind of dial in the type of paralegal you want by choosing a platform that makes sense for you. The attorney side, it's a little bit trickier. There are some freelance platforms that are out there now where attorneys that want to be contract attorneys can now create a profile and have their services available. And then you as a consumer of those legal services, if you want them to work on a project for you, you can, create an account on the platform and go ahead and, put the project out to bid. interview potential contract attorneys. And then, as lawyers, of course, you have lots of resources to go find contract attorneys. So it's really possible also to outsource a lot of the legal work now too, which is really exciting. So I have one of my clients who's an immigration attorney.
Mm.
She doesn't have any employees, and her primary role is actually bringing in the business. And so doing a lot of the immigration work, completing the forms, and managing the case and all that. Most of that is done by her outsourced team. And she loves it because all these people know what they're doing. So she's not had to train them at all. They're not employees, so she has zero liability, doesn't have to carry workers' compensation or anything like that. And they do, good work for her. And, like employees as well, and sometimes you have to kiss a couple of frogs to get one that's really, really great. But now she's built a really good team that is handling a lot of her case flow, and she loves it. So this is a model that can really work for a lot of people. But again, every law firm is different, and what works for one attorney may not work for another. So when you think about outsourcing your legal functions, you totally can. But maybe you should think about if it's something you want to do. Some firms really want to retain that high touch and want to retain that level of control. Other attorneys are like, no, if we can outsource it with quality and low cost and low overhead, and I'm totally in. So you have to decide what's going to be the best for the firm you're trying to build.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I don't know a lot about immigration law, but I'm, at least from what I understand, especially clients who, are involved in both immigration related issues, both during and after a divorce. It's a lot of paperwork, and it's like, hey, here's the information, you're filling out paperwork. And it seems like that's a perfect opportunity for a law firm to take advantage of outsourcing, to say, here's the data, you need to go fill it out, create the packet. And then I'm trying to figure out, like, oh, where can I do that? Right. Or where do we have opportunities? And I don't know, for me, doesn't mean it's wrong or right, that would ever work for us. Right. But there's other industries I think about, like workers' comp, who, it's lots of deposition work, and you just need somebody to defend a deposition, which doesn't, you don't need to know a lot about the case, beyond what you need to object to. And you just need somebody to go and defend a deposition. You don't necessarily need employees to do that all the time. So it just gets me thinking about unique opportunities that other law firm owners, depending on your area of practice, can implement when it comes to specific legal work. So it's really interesting because as the family lawyer with, more local practice, I'd never considered it.
Yeah, it's a really different model, that outsourced law firm model, and it's something that I really enjoy working with my clients on. But like I said, it's not the right fit for everybody. Like, for your
Mhm.
firm, it would absolutely be the wrong fit,
Yeah.
based on the kind of services
Yeah.
you provide. But
Yeah.
there are other firms where it's just great. So it just depends.
Yeah, totally depends. And my firm's actually set up in a way where outsourcing a lot of the operational functions makes sense, because our team is so good at what they do, from intake and collections, that we have an internal team that needs to be full-time. The ones that the clients can call and rely on, and know that my employee knows their name, knows their kid's name, knows what's going on in their case. But for internal functions like HR, IT, marketing, social media management, those are all great opportunities for us, that doesn't impact the client experience, but helps us run without hiring an employee to manage all those things. So just continues to allow law firm owners to look at their firm, to figure out where are the needs in your firm and how much is it coming up, and is outsourcing the right fit for them. So I really appreciate that, because I've got a lot to think about, and now I have to go sit down and reassess what I'm doing and figure out additional players to bring in. So for help deciding what to outsource and help building an operations plan that supports your growth, you can book a strategy call on our website, lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. If this episode sparked new ideas, please like, subscribe, and share it with a lawyer who might need it. We love hearing how you're building your lawyer boss life.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.